Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try to shoot a couple videos today talking about different things. So we're going to try to keep the speeds down to eliminate the wind noise. And for those of you who saw my other kind of bike vlog video, we're going to go in the same path just because it's less traffic and quiet. But I'd like to start off with some thoughts on a comment that I received from a viewer where I was talking about my first year experience with the Stromer and my view on how these bikes are used in Europe versus the United States, and then also my own journey with these bikes and quote unquote exercise. The viewer made a good point, so I'm not trying to bash on this person, but he made the comment that these bikes are doing 80% of the work or more. And that's true. There's no argument there. But he also made a comment that the bike is really heavy and you can get a lightweight road bike and you get better exercise. And again, I would probably agree with that statement. But I also think that there's some missing context. Not that anybody really cares, but if there's somebody watching that is in my same situation, then maybe this will help somebody. So I grew up in Northern California, the San Francisco Bay Area, and in high school I played 3 years of water polo on a really good high school team, and they were state champions. I wasn't any good, but I showed up to practice every day and I showed up to all the games. I did get hurt my senior year, but I was part of a team and I showed up and I did my part. I was a big guy in high school, so I was taller than most of the kids. I was also built bigger, so I played mid-pool. I wouldn't say I was a great distance swimmer, but I can swim fast for short periods of time, and I was big enough that I can get the ball away from people and give it to somebody who can actually make a shot. We had practices at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., just about every day, and then on top of that, you had games in the evenings. So on the days that you had games, you had practices and games. On days that you didn't have games, you just had practices. The other thing is that my house is probably about 5 miles away from the school. And so that's 10 miles round trip, plus water polo, plus school and all that stuff. Now, junior and senior year, before I got a car, I had a job, and it was at the local shopping mall. And anyway, that was another, I think it was 5 to 8 miles away at that point. When you're in your teens, it's not a big deal. I was exercising quite a bit. So all that to say, I know what being in good physical fitness is. I know what working out means. And so I get it, right? I get what this person was saying. Now, fast forward, I'll be 54 next week, but I would say probably in my late 20s, maybe early 30s, I focused on my job. My job was very stressful. It was very sedentary. You're trying to climb the corporate ladder, all that stuff, and life gets in the way. And then you get a little bit older, you get a little bit heavier, and then you have some surgeries and things like that. I had surgery on my spine, also on my nose. And then you just have life events that happen. I didn't like to exercise. I never did. Even when I was playing water polo, I hated it. But the only reason why I got into it was because I hated running. So football was out. I didn't have good hand coordination, and I was tall. So basketball was out, and I just really have never had any interest in sports, even to this day. My nephews will attest to that. But water polo to me seemed like it was interesting, and I was able to make the team a bunch of years. And you have life events in your family. You're getting to that age where your parents get sick and they pass away, and stress happens. And so my highest weight after both my parents died was about 260 pounds. That's the heaviest I've ever been. And I moved to Vegas about 7 years ago, and I got a physical when I started this new job. And I think I was a little bit less at that point, maybe in the 240, maybe in the 250s, maybe. But I got a physical, and what they told me was my fasting glucose was 395 or something like that. And he said, you know, at 400, we have to put you in the hospital. And like everything was out of whack, right? So type 2 diabetic, needed to lose weight, needed to get on a diet, and then start taking all these meds. And the meds would make you really sick with stomach issues, and just, it wasn't very good at all. I tried to just go to the gym, and it sucked. It was boring, and I didn't like it. So my exercise routine wasn't very good. And then I started doing some research on type 2 diabetes, and it's funny because in the United States they give you a book from the Diabetes Foundation or whatever it is, and it tells you can have carbohydrates. And for me, I was kind of a carboholic. I love pasta and pizza and anything bread, right? Wasn't really a sweets fan, but I could eat a whole pizza or eat a whole pound of pasta, right? It was just insane. And anyway, I started doing some research on YouTube, and I found out about the keto diet, and I went all in on that. I've been on the keto diet now for, I don't know, it feels like 4 or 5 years. And I'm not preaching to anybody here, but it immediately changed my life. My blood sugars got under control. My A1C got a lot better. I lost probably about 15 pounds, but it was never consistent. But I still wasn't exercising. And I still didn't find an exercise that I enjoyed. So anyhow, about 2 years ago, I started on Mounjaro. And Mounjaro is a type 2 diabetes medication. You've seen it in the news for Ozempic and all these people taking it for weight loss. And I have to tell you, it worked. And it's working. I'm on it now. And it's changed my life. But my view on it was that, yes, this is a drug that you take, and it works really well. And the studies are coming out where it solves a lot of problems that are all related to obesity, heart disease and cholesterol, potentially dementia. There's all this stuff out there. It started an acceleration. And then on top of that, probably over a year ago, I started researching bikes, and I had a bicycle, and I could barely ride a mile. It wasn't any fun. I could barely get around the block. Like, I was that out of shape, and it just wasn't fun. So I started researching bikes and electric bikes, but again, it was really important for me to find a bike that you had to pedal. I didn't want to sit on a bike and push a button and have the bike take you around. And no, that's not saying anything to anybody who has one of these bikes. It's just, for me, it was important that I got out and I moved and just did some work. And I found a couple brands that would fit that need. I ended up buying the Stromer, and I absolutely love it. Am I getting the same workout that you would get on a regular bicycle? No, I'm not saying you would. However, I ride every single day, weather permitting. I know there's, shout out to Doug, he rides rain or snow. I ride every day that it's nice enough to ride. I won't ride over 100 degrees. I won't ride when it's raining, but I do ride in the cold. It doesn't snow here, so I have that going for me, but I do try to ride every day. Some days I skip and take a break, but 99% of the time I ride every day. And I love it. I love being out here doing that. I don't commute, so I'm not riding with some sort of purpose. I'm riding to get out of the house, clear my head, get out and move. That's really it. It's to move. And the person's comment was, you're really not getting any exercise. And I would challenge that, because the data kind of shows otherwise. I get my heart rate up into my target range for my age. I can burn calories. I sweat. My core is a lot better than what it was. I feel better after I ride. My legs burn. There is a workout that's happening. I don't ride this thing in sport mode all day long. I don't have it completely on heavy assist, but I completely understand that the two forms of exercise are not comparable, and I'm comfortable with that assessment. But I do feel like being consistent and doing something on a consistent basis is relevant, especially for somebody who was sedentary. And when I look at the data, it shows, depending on how much time I ride, I don't really measure in miles per se, because this bike will go 28 miles an hour, so that's not fair. But if I look at time and the amount of energy and the number of calories burned on a 20-30 minute ride, maybe it's 400 or 500 calories depending on where I'm going and what I'm doing. And on longer rides like today, I can burn almost 1,000 calories being out for a little over an hour. That's great. It's great for somebody who has no desire whatsoever to do any exercise. And this gets me doing that, and it gets me doing it every day. So that's the really cool thing, is that I found something that I enjoy. It gets me moving, and I'm seeing results. I feel better today at 54 than I did in my 30s. And so that's, to me, that's a giant success. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but overall plan of diet, staying away from carbohydrates and sugars, and then the medication and daily exercise, I'm down to about 195 as of this week, and I have about another 10 or 15 pounds more to go. But that's the journey. And I don't care what kind of bike you get, whether it's this extreme of a bike or anything that basically gets you outside and gets you moving. Because biking might not be for everybody, I'm not advocating that it is, but for me, to have the assistance, to be able to stay out for longer. So even on this ride so far, it's 9 miles in about 36 minutes. That's 8 miles more than I would normally ride. And my heart rate's about 133, going uphill right now. And so this is all good. Again, back to the guy who commented, I actually really appreciate the comment, but you have to put it into context for the masses that this might relate to. And I can go out and buy a really expensive road bike, which is comparable to in price to this, but if I don't enjoy it, or if it's too hard to do, or if it takes me too long to see some sort of success, then that's just a waste. You'll sit in the garage. Where this here at least makes it fun. And I love being on this bike. So anyway, I hope this helps you understand my journey. And if you're considering a bike, or an e-bike rather, my advice is get one that makes you move. And if it's got a button, try not to use it. But anything that keeps you moving, makes you have to balance. This bike is really heavy, and so you're required to balance quite a bit. And I would say absolutely give it a shot. Try to rent one somewhere and see if you like it before you invest in it. And again, you don't have to go crazy and buy a super expensive one. Do whatever's in your budget, but the point is that you're getting out there. And I think that's the really important moral of the story, is any exercise is better than no exercise. And I think that's what I'm going to leave you with today. But find something you enjoy doing, and find something that works for you, and just have fun with it. This isn't the only competition you have, is with yourself. So that's it. At least at this age, you're not trying to be an Olympian by any means. You're just trying to stay healthy and have fun doing it. So anyway, that's all I have to say about this topic. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.